Please join me now in welcoming Mayor Randall Woodfin.
Thank you. Hey, good evening, everyone. It is really good to be here in Fountain Heights. It's good to be here in District 9. I recognize a lot of faces. There's some faces I don't recognize. Each of you are busy. You have lives, you have families, you have jobs, but you're taking the time out of your schedule to be with us here tonight. If you've never been in one of our town halls, it is designed for us at the beginning, at the top of our time together to give you some information updates on some things we've done over the last year, and then on some things we're doing this year in 2024. And then the main attraction is for us to engage, answer, and respond to any questions you may have. So again, I'm grateful for you being here. Before I go on, I do want to bring up my co-host, and that is Councilwoman LaTonya Tate, who represents you here in District 9. Just to bring a greeting, and then she's gonna give me the mic back, and then we'll jump into what I just said. So with that, everyone, Councilor LaTonya Tate to bring you a brief greeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Fountain Heights. Good to be in the Heights, like the mayor said. This is just like old time for me, because I remember coming up here, growing up here and playing in this center, but I'm not going to be long and prolonged, but I am going to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2024 District 9 Town Hall meeting. It's truly an honor to stand before you tonight, and I am excited to share some highlights and pertinent information about what we've been working on in District 9. Over the past several months, our district has seen remarkable growth and positive change across various sectors. So I'm just going to hit a few bullet points on some of the ARPA dollars and how we allocated some of those dollars. We allocated $700,000 to Healthy Housing Initiative in partnership with Protecting Good, Metro Changers, and Neighborhood Housing. We allocated $50,000 into cameras, $50,000 in the Goodar store, partnering with the Daniel Foundation. So if you have not been over on Cherry Avenue to the Daniel Foundation, you need to go over there and check out the Goodar store. Invested some money, and thank the mayor for investing in initiatives around violence reduction, $350,000 into violence initiatives, the Aspen Institute, Credible Messenger. The council voted in partnership with Jefferson County, the Hospital Link Violence Program. So that's just a few, but my staff in the near future will provide you guys with a newsletter, and you will see all the good things that we have been up to. Then I want to give kudos before I turn this mic back over to the mayor. Thank the mayor for the Reentry Coalition and Elena Milton for leading that effort. So I'm going to turn this mic over to Mayor Woodfin, and welcome to Fountain Heights.
Thank you, Counselor. There is one more housekeeping duty I need to do that's very, very important. It turns out that Counselor Tate and I are not the only people who are leaders who represent this area. There are various people in the form of presidents, vice presidents, and secretaries of neighborhoods throughout District 9. If you are here, could you please stand and be recognized? Neighborhood officers in District 9. So we will get into a little bit of what y'all do in a minute, but we're just gonna jump in here and just start with some updates. As you see here on this screen, everybody, this first update represents what we did last year as it relates to street paving. Citywide, we did about $12.5 million spread across 9 city council districts. And that was broken down into about 240 segments of street paving, which is about 43 miles across the entire city last year. which also included about 40 segments in District 9. Now, if you want detail of the work complete, that's this right here, right? So if you were not aware, a lot of those streets were in Inslee, Dolomite, Wylam, North Pratt, Sipco, Finley, Central Pratt, East Thomas, North Pratt, and Druid Hills. You know, District 9 is very unique. I tell people it is between the 9 and 12 o'clock window, if you're thinking about a clock, where it runs 2059 Inslee, and then it also runs 65 North. And so I think you have, what, 19, 17? 18 neighborhoods in one district. That's a lot, and they're very different. I mean, from the north, you have Hooper City, North Birmingham, Evergreen Bottom, Fountain Heights, Druid Hills, and then it goes west. I did not include all the North Birmingham, the neighborhoods on the north side. But west, that's Pratt City and Inslee and Wylam and Dolomite and other areas that I did not name. So the street paving efforts will continue. If you look at what we're doing in 2024, the street resurfacing continues with another almost 13 million just this year's street paving. We'll do about 182 segments, which is about 36 miles across the city. And we'll do 24 of those will be in this district. That list is also on the website. If you go to the next slide, you have a lot of city assets in District 9 that includes parks, recreation centers, libraries, and even a police station. So just to name three, you have the Tuggle School access improvements, which includes new sidewalks on the east side of 4th Place. That'll also include speed cushions to slow traffic down for children walking to school, and speed zone signage in that school perimeter area. In the Hooper City area, there's been talk probably the last 3 years about continued stormwater issues. So we're finally in a place where we can improve the streets and the drainage along 37 Terrace, 37 Court, and 6th Street West. And these have been streets I've walked with neighborhood officers. They've showed me these problems. And this has been a long problem, so I'm glad we can really address this now. And then the same in the North Birmingham area, there's been some significant drainage issues. So right now we're in the design phase for repairs and improvements along 34th Ave, 26th Street, 27th Street from 33rd Ave to 34th, as well as the intersection of 34th and 28th Street North. This is a significant improvement in those areas where we've had some issues with stormwater. Now, show of hands. In this room in District 9, who has ever led a cleanup effort in your neighborhood? And after you clean up your efforts within 72 hours, who saw stuff back on the ground? So I want to go to this top left first and just show you. 5,655 bags of litter were collected just in 2023. If you look at that, if you look at the note on the bottom, that is the equivalent of 72 garbage truck loads of litter that have been picked up just in District 9. This is not citywide. This is just in your district. So I know this is an ongoing problem, right? You do a neighborhood cleanup. The city assists you in neighborhood cleanups. And then your neighbors put it back on the ground. What happens is you point to the city and say, the city's dirty. Why isn't the city cleaning up the city? Why isn't the city cleaning up my neighborhood? Why isn't the city cleaning up my district? Why isn't the city cleaning up my street? But we are. I am not sure what it's going to take to change behavior, but this is crazy. And this is unacceptable. Because I just want to repeat that. That is over 5,000 bags of litter collected just in 1 year. When you go to the right, there have been some significant pothole issues in District 9 outside of paving. So we do want you to know, last year, what we repaired in District 9. Of that 980, 215 of those came from requests from 311. But separate from your requests, the Department of Public Works and other team members are always assessing, driving around our streets, and if they see it, they fix it, even if you don't call in 311. All of you all should be on the uniform garbage cart system now. I'm not sure what the request is, or for others who may want an additional trash bin, but there is a process for you if you want a second trash bin. I do want to take the time to explain, if you are not aware, because we do this in every town hall meeting, why we went to uniform trash bins. It turns out before this process, we were picking up trash from your home and everybody else's home, not once, but twice a week. And whatever you put out, we picked up. And then we even picked up trash on the weekends. So for a minimum of 6 out of 7 days a week, there was always trash on the ground in our city. The problem with that was it also allowed the people who like to illegally dump and litter to easily blend in and get away with bad or nasty behavior because trash was always on our streets. That's coupled with men and women who ride on the back of trucks getting hurt or being injured from getting out and lifting up bags and picking bags up off the ground. So the uniform trash carts allowed two things. One, it allowed the men and women who work in public works to be safer. Because now you can use the bin, you got to lift. But in addition to that, this is a long-term strategy to help keep our city cleaner. Because once you go to uniform trash bins, it's harder for people who do illegal things such as dumping and or littering to blend in. So we're in the first phase of this, assessing, is this making our city cleaner? And we believe it is. I do want to talk about a criminal behavior that's been on a lot of people's mind, exhibition driving. Now, have any of you all who live in District 9 seen it on the street? Show of hands. Have any of you all seen it in a church parking lot or a small business parking lot? I was telling someone earlier that we've all been young. Each generation has its way of being flashy, wanting to entertain itself. I think for our generation, or my generation, we like loud music, we like big rims, we like old school cars, like loud engines. None of those things are illegal. They may be annoying, but they're not illegal. However, exhibition driving is not only illegal, but is very dangerous. And over the course of the last 2 years, we have seen people killed from exhibition driving. I think there was one incident on John Rogers Drive where at least, 7 or 11 people were injured. 13 people were injured from exhibition driving, including Councilor Tate's niece being one of those people. So this is something that we have attempted to address by, one, going to Montgomery to get the legislators to create a bill in isolation just to focus on this. In return, this new bill has allowed us to not only ticket for exhibition driving, but be in a position to tow if there was felony eluding, as well as and or make up to an arrest. So we started an operation finally about mid-April. And the result of this operation, just over 2 weekends, has allowed 11 arrests, 13 vehicles seized and many things in those cars, which included 9 firearms. This operation will not stop. I know this operation is important to you. Therefore, we made this operation a priority. We acknowledge there are many other crimes out there, which includes gun violence, which we will talk about in Q&A. But I did want to address this issue because I know it's important to everybody. By the way, is media in here? Perfect. I can just talk to folk. All right. We acknowledge that the police can't be in every intersection. So if an operation is going on one side of town, you may have the exhibition drivers move to a different side of town. Well, we've been working the last 2 weeks to get the legislators to approve an exception to the bill, an amendment to the bill that will allow camera usage for exhibition driving. The way Alabama law is designed is if a police officer does not see a traffic violation, they can't write a ticket. So if you got exhibition driving on your street and you call the police, when the police get there, if they don't see it, there's nothing they can do. However, if we're allowed to use cameras, then if and when it happens after the fact, even if the police didn't see it, we can still ticket and or tow and or up to an arrest the next day or the following day because we were able to catch it on camera. The good news is it passed out of the House unanimously the other day. It passed out of the Senate committee yesterday. And in the best case scenario, it can pass out of the Senate this upcoming Tuesday and then get to the governor's desk to sign. And this will be effectively immediately to allow us to use cameras to catch people exhibition driving. So even if an officer doesn't see it, we can still ticket and or tow and or up to an arrest. That is good news. Now, if you go back, now show of hands, who has some form of a camera on the exterior of their home? High hands. We have a program called Connect Birmingham. And it turns out, everybody, that what's been happening, our social contract has broken down as it relates to people willing, ready, and able to come before the police and share information about a crime. A shooting can take place on your block or your street or in your neighborhood. And people are reluctant to or afraid to come forward with information. But Connect Birmingham puts a unique twist on what I call Neighborhood Watch, where it doesn't necessarily require you to physically see something. But by the use and opting into this program, if your exterior camera catches a crime, again, on your block or on your street or in your vicinity, BPD can assist, or you can assist in an investigation of capturing the person that committed the crime. So we want to encourage you, our residents in District 9 and citywide, to scan this QR code or actually pick up a piece of paper that's somewhere over here to register participate in this program. Because this is how we actually catch criminals. This is how we catch people in our neighborhoods that are committing crime, whether it's breaking into cars, whether it's burglary, whether it's theft, whether it's shooting. The more camera usage we can have in our city, including from our residents, allowing us to use their exterior cameras, the more criminals we can arrest and take off the streets. I see you keep raising your hand. Let me tell you the process. We got cards for you, so be sure to write that question down so we can get to you. Same to you, brother. Does anybody need a card for their question? So, now that I've explained that, just by a show of hands, does anybody want to participate in this program? Well, please be sure to take this QR code and or fill out the paper form physically because we need you to participate. Chief, how many people have signed up now? Not enough. This program only works if you sign up. It literally only works if you sign up. If you could go to the next slide. So now I want to talk about another topic that's very important to you in District 9. Whether you're on the west side or the north side of District 9, we acknowledge that there has been a significant amount of blight. We acknowledge there's been a significant amount of absentee slumlords that are not taking care of their property. And we acknowledge not only the vacant properties, but the overgrown lots, as well as owner-occupied or rental-occupied dwellings where there are numerous code violations. So we do want to tell you, if you go back, just give you some numbers on what we've done to address these issues. Starting with the structures we've identified and put on the list for condemnation. So in District 9, it's about 57 of those, meaning at some point these houses will be set for demolition. 791 homes have been inspected by our code enforcement team for violations. 27 of those have been closed out, so that is a long process, and we got a long way to go to get that process through the court system to hold your neighbors accountable for not taking care of their property. In addition to that, unfortunately, you have a significant amount of vacant lots in District 9, but we've been able to cut almost 1,000 of them by city as well as private contractors. And then the owner-occupied code violations such as junk, debris, overgrown lots, and the one you hate the most, inoperable vehicles in lots or on grass. We've been able to address and bring 329 violations for your neighbors not doing their part and being a good neighbor. So related to code enforcement and blight removal, this is something in 2024 we'll continue to be aggressive about because we've been aggressive in this first quarter and we'll be aggressive in the second quarter up until the end of the year. Has anybody ever heard of the term DNAT? DNAT stands for Drug Nuisance Abatement Team. It is led in our legal department and it is led by our city attorney. But this team has a laser-like focus on houses or homes in your neighborhood or in your district that are either drug houses or any other form of nuisance. That's right, my man. I appreciate your passion. But here's the deal, everybody. Let me tell you what DNAT's success has been. With information from you as residents, there have been 126 properties receiving demand for corrective action for some form of a nuisance that they are able to investigate. In those investigations, some of them have allowed to exhaust and go all the way through the court system where people have been held accountable and or made to pay fines and or made to shut down, whether it's an apartment complex or a home. And the city's been able to collect about $53,000, and that money's been put back into the neighborhood revitalization fund. So the most important thing I can say to you related to the Drug Nuisance Abatement Team is this. There is a number for you to call. It is 205-254-2369. Again, I want you to take this number down. 205-254-2369. If you are aware of a house, an apartment complex, on your block or on your street or in your neighborhood that you know is a nuisance, that cars pull up or people walk up to buy drugs, a shot house where people hanging out and doing other illegal activity, or any other form of nuisance you can think of that you know is illegal, but you don't necessarily want to get involved or point the finger, Call this number and tell them you want to talk to the DNAT team, Drug Nuisance Abatement Team, so they can formally start a process and investigate and get these people in front of a judge and hold them accountable. And if they can't correct their behavior, the next conversation with the judge is to evict them from this home, shut this apartment complex down, or boot this renter out of the house. If you could, go to the next slide. And then there's something else I want to talk about. I think in this room we're in last year, we opened up the critical home repair program. And there was a line wrapped around this building. And Counselor, I think for about 200 applications, I think well over 800, 700 people showed up. So there is more demand than there is actual resources for the critical repair program. But I do want to say 54 District 9 homes, and then 5 have currently been completed. So there's an intentional effort in this district, knowing that we have legacy residents, second, third generation families who have inherited their home. We also have seniors in their homes. We acknowledge that their roofs need repairs and their porch, exterior, other things may need help. We also acknowledge that some of our seniors may not have the necessary resources to do those things. So the critical repair programs allows you to apply for a grant that used to be $15,000 that is now $30,000. And it allows for you those monies to assist in any exterior upgrades you may need for your home for critical repair. It is very, very, I'm not going to say competitive. It's just not enough resources. Because it's a citywide program where there are limited dollars, but the demand is here. But we'll continue this program every year. I also want to talk about Shadow Brook and Enon Ridge. In these two areas, we're excited to say in District 9, particularly for the Shadow Brook area, we're wanting to go vertical with 53 new affordable single-family homes for ownership. And then in the Enon Ridge area, we're doing about 3 homes for affordable home ownership, where 2 have already been completed in partnership with BEAT. There are many other intentional efforts and activities designed around how do we support existing homeowners with critical repair, as well as how do we enhance and support home ownership and opportunity for people who want to move to District 9. So we'll continue that work throughout not just 24, but beyond. If you can go to the next slide. We want y'all to stay connected. And so we send out information every day on all the issues you care about, from public safety to housing, to infrastructure, to streets, sidewalks, curves, economic development, community development, small business opportunity, and every single thing else you may want and need information from. So one of the ways you can be connected and receive text messages from us is to text BHAM Ready to 888-77-7, and the city will literally automatically give you updates on information we believe is relevant to you. Again, by texting BHAM Ready to 888-777, you can be looped into information. In addition to that, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as whatever that is at the bottom.
Next door.
Next door. Thank you so much. I told you all the presentation will be short. What we want to do is spend the next hour or so getting to the point that you came here for, which is your questions, your concerns, your issues, your desires, your wants about what's happening in District 9 and what we're doing to address them. So with that, Rick, I'm passing it to you.
Thank you, Mayor. If I can just make one quick note on this too, if you don't, I know sometimes people don't like to sign up for text messages because then all of a sudden you get loaded down. That business sends a new discount, buy one get one free every day, and you get sick of it and you unsubscribe. We don't do that, but if you do text the BHAM Ready, all one word, BHAM Ready to 888-777. One of the things that we found that we try to do when we were delivering carts is whenever there is disruption in household garbage pickup because of a holiday or a makeup day coming up, we try to put that information on the text message just as a friendly reminder. So I just wanted to encourage you. That's one of the benefits of that. So I wanted to kind of pass that along. We've got a variety of questions. Before I get started with the question, I want to ask, because I picked up a few. If you've got a question that you filled out already and you need somebody to get it, just hold it up, and our team will come around and pick it up. If you need a question card, feel free to hold your hand up. They'll bring a question card to you. So we'll get started with this now. Mayor, our first one, this is coming from Central City, and this says, why can't officers put a stop to unlawful behavior, such as the cars stopped in the middle of the street, occupants dancing in the street and on top of cars? They say, we've observed officers watching this unfold before and no action taken. What can be done?
Yeah, I've seen the video. I've seen the video footage. I think 2 separate weekends you had a situation in the 23rd block, I believe, of First Avenue or off 23rd, in front of a small business. Patrons or people on the exterior of that business showing out, doing stupid things, including dancing, twerking on the roof. And I think the question is, if police officers are in the actual vicinity, why aren't they doing anything to engage? That is a very fair question. It's a question I've had too, and it's a question I've shared with some leadership. Let me just say I don't expect that to happen a third time. And since we know everyone's recording any and everything in that area, if it does happen a third time, I expect the video to be sent to me. And if I see a video of that same behavior, you can expect for folk to be held accountable. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Mayor. This next question is from Inslee. This is from one of our community leaders. It says, many residents have expressed concerns and opposition for the Aids of Alabama plan for homeless locations in the 2100 block of Avenue I in Inslee. Are there other locations in Inslee where these homes could be placed? And I know that Corey Stallworth with Community Development is in the room also.
You know, I figured that question would come up. And I'm not sure my answer would be pleasing to anyone in this room. We are a city made up of 23 communities and 99 neighborhoods. And during the winter season, there's not a day that goes by where somebody says the city is not doing enough to address homelessness or help our homeless neighbors. Not a day. In the summertime, when the heat gets overwhelming and we have this heat index that's crazy, there's not a day that goes by where people don't say the city is not doing enough for our homeless neighbors. So then we try to do something. We actually try to get them physically off the street and put them in homes. And we're looking at various areas within all 99 neighborhoods that are residential. And Ms. Tate, guess what the response is? I don't want them over here. I think what's perplexing to me is it's actual housing. It's not people sleeping in the street. It's a house. It's actually a secure, built environment for micro shelters for housing our homeless neighbors. So yeah, I think part of the question was, is there somewhere else? Sure. When I go somewhere else, I imagine they're gonna have the same reaction. I don't want them over here. And then I'll go to the third neighborhood, and they're gonna say the same thing. Oh, where do we want them? Where do we want to put a community where people can transition off the street into actual housing? I think we've all heard the term NIMBY, which stands for not in my backyard. But I'm baffled on this one because it's actual housing. And I think in the spirit of trying to give second chances, in the spirit of trying to help people, in the spirit of actually providing housing for people who don't have shelter, no one wants this close to them. And I struggle with that because it doesn't feel or sound very neighborly when I hear that. So, given process, we're collecting information, we're taking feedback. And what we want to be very honest about is considering what you feel. Some very passionate people in here that, quote, don't want this community by them. So we'll keep looking in other places as well. I'm not ruling that area out, but we'll just have to expand this conversation. Except what if every single neighborhood says they don't want this? Then what? Are we gonna go back to City of Birmingham, y'all not doing enough for homeless people? But we're trying to literally get them off the street. So to the Inslee residents, this is what I'll say. No decision has been made. We have been in a fact-finding and fact-gathering process to get feedback from residents about this opportunity.
Okay.
But what I am hoping for is that we soften our hearts on an issue that has been critical to residents in our city who are unsheltered and live in our streets. And if there's an actual opportunity to put a roof over their head, I take that as them not being criminals or hurting property value or devaluing property value or coming to an area to hurt it, because they would actually be residents in homes.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple that are very similar from North. I've got a couple that are very similar from North Birmingham that I want to I'm going to kind of combine them because they're kind of on the same topic. They quote the city code, the city sections. I would like to know why the following environmental issues are not addressed: parking and storage of disabled automobiles and left on public streets, and what's being done to address it.
So I'll tell you what's being done to address it. There's several things we do. I actually participate personally because I know a lot of the residents in this area. You have my number, you call and say, hey, I can't get down the street because people are parked on both sides. Or this mechanic got all these cars they're working on this street. And without fail, hey, give me the address. I go to the business owner, I talk to him and say, hey, we're getting complaints from your neighbors. You know the code, you know what it says. Can you do me a favor and remove these cars, either the one side or remove them in the fence of your property? They'll say yes. And then in return, I'll say, tell me how long it'll take you to do it. And they'll give me a number. And what I tell them is, I won't come back. I'll send BPD. or I'll send a team member, and if they're not back by that date, we are going to stamp those cars, the orange thing where you put the sticker you put on. And then they got a few days to remove them, and they don't, Will Record comes in. What happens is they remove them, and what you say, Ms. Brown, 60 days, 90 days later, sometimes less, same cars are back on the streets. So Councilor Tate and I have had this conversation. Maybe it's time for us to just be buttholes all the time and not give notice, not be nice, not give them time. But if you got an address where you know this issue is persistent, before you leave, please give that address to Ms. LaToya Walker. Good to see you, sir. Have a good night. If you see or have or know an address where this is a consistent problem, please give the address to Ms. LaToya Walker. Is that you, Silva? Or give it to Ms. Silva Scarborough back here. Or give that address to Ms. Alicia Lumpkin. And we will go pay visits to those areas. And we will assess, we will give notice, and we will ticket and or tow if we need to.
So I'm going to take this question. I think it's an opportunity for because we passed out the street resurfacing. It's a good reminder. If you haven't received it, we have street resurfacing lists for District 9 at the table. If you need one, you can hold your hand up and we'll bring it to you as well. But this was kind of on process of selection. It says, can we put Beach Avenue on the next resurfacing street?
That is a good question. Where's Ms. G? Ms. G, you still back here? Y'all, I just had a long conversation with this young lady back here. She said she voted for me, and I'm very grateful. And then with her eyes, without her saying something, I was able to see, feel, and read her frustration. And her frustration was centered around, why hasn't her street been paved yet? And I think it's a very fair concern. And so I was able to sit next to her and tell her a little bit about the process that I think you all deserve, an understanding of where we are in street paving. I'll give you the good first. If you were not aware, since I've been sworn in November of 2017, we have literally paved about $60 million worth of streets. 60 million. 60 million. Now, that's not small. But what you should also know is that we inherited two things. One of those things was about $50 million, a 50 million backlog in street paving. Actually, we inherited three things. The second thing was streets hadn't been paved in years. And the third thing was the prior mayor and the prior council actually approved a 5-year paving plan that was unfunded. So when we came into office, we committed to paving an existing list. So since I've been in office, and since this council has been in office, we have not picked what street to pave. The list already existed prior to us being in office. And every year we've been paving towards those streets. Again, LaToya Tate, nor I or her colleagues pick any of the streets that have been paved over the last 5 years. So please do not blame her for your street not being paved. Blame me. What I will say is that we've come up with another process that we think is more fair, more reasonable, more equitable, and gets us to where we need to be as a progressive city. Councilor Tate and her colleagues about 1.5 years ago, if not 2 years at this point, approved $500,000, $500,000 to bring a third-party organization into our city to literally assess every single street and then give every single street a letter grade. So if you will, the best streets receive the letter grade A. The second best streets receive a letter grade B. The next streets receive a C. Bad streets receive a D, and the worst streets receive an F. That process is still ongoing, and once it's complete, we are committed to sharing the list with all of the citizens in Birmingham so you can see the best to the worst streets throughout the entire city, including in District 9. Now, what do you think is going to happen next? I told you there was a previous list of 5 years. I don't know how that list was picked, but I'm going to say it was just political. Squeaky wheel, whoever was squeaky wheel, they streak out on the list. But this is a fair process. What streets do y'all believe are going to get paid first? F. The worst streets will be paid first. The D's will be paid second, citywide. We believe that is a fairer process, and for every single person in this room that are concerned about their streets, which some of your streets have been paved in 30, 40 years, that gets us to a point where it works better for everybody. So to explain that, and where is James? James Fowler's not here, is he? You're here. Do you know when that list will be complete, that process? It's shake and bake. It's almost done. We need to share that list with all the citizens in the city, okay? Once it's done and complete.
Yes, sir.
So we're committed to sharing that with everybody. So literally all 200,000 people in this city know the best and worst streets. But I'm telling you the play, I'm telling you the process, I'm telling you the plan, what's next once we get the list. Citywide, we start paving the worst streets first. And you'll know it because you'll have the list just like us. What's next, Rick?
Yes, sir. This is from Fountain Heights and Smithfield. Are there any bridge builder programs available to youth and adults to better uplift the community? And if I can throw another one in there, if I can find it, it was very simple. Well, I'll just go on and throw that one out. We'll come to that other one in a minute. But any bridge builder programs just to uplift the youth and adults?
Bridge building programs. I'm not sure I know what that term means. What I can say is the other part of the question, programs to uplift youth and adults. Do I have that part right? For our youth, there are a litany of things we're doing. In order for this pool to open right here, I don't know if y'all walked in and saw what seen what I saw, but the water is actually running in the pool, getting ready to open. So that's the good, and it's something to be excited about. Maybe one of y'all can teach me how to swim. Chill out. But I want to give you the bad, because you deserve honesty. We cannot open that pool without lifeguards. All right, I want to repeat that. We've been having this conversation about a shortage of lifeguards since this February, since February, we need more lifeguards. And what we've seen since post-coronavirus over the last 4 years, less and less people, adults and teenagers, have less of a desire to be lifeguards. So last year, we even increased the price for teenagers to make $15 an hour to be a lifeguard. Now, y'all know teenagers get paid when we were their age to be a lifeguard. So I talked to the superintendent today. I talked to Shanae Bennett, who's over Park and Rec. I talked to Chaz Mitchell today over city operations. And the superintendent has agreed to help us get aggressive in recruiting teenagers, which includes driving them to be trained to be lifeguards, so we can not only open this pool, but open all the pools. So if you are aware of a teenager in this area, if you have a family member, whether it's your son, nephew, daughter or niece, grandchild, or a friend of one, let them know that they can apply right now before school closes. An opportunity to not only work in the community, be in the community, but be a lifeguard and be paid. That's just one example, y'all. Here is something else. Kids and Jobs is still strong as ever. Not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, I stood in the gym of Bill Harris Arena, probably in front of close to 200 14 and 15-year-olds wanted a job. Most of them are going to get a job this summer. And we're doing the same thing for 16, 17, and 18-year-olds as well. In addition to that, Birmingham Promise this summer is allowing young people, juniors and seniors, probably close to about, hopefully, 200 of them, to be able to work in jobs that pay them $15 an hour, exposed to a career interest they may have. Here's what we're also doing for our young people. It turns out, at the same age you were when you were their age, there's conflict, there's beef, fighting with somebody, got issues with somebody. And you may have addressed your issue in a different way, and they address their issue in a different way by picking up a gun. So we've been trying to teach them conflict resolution. So we've dumped about $1 million into a conflict resolution program for our young people, reminding them that conflict has always existed, that conflict will always be with them, but there is a different way to respond instead of picking up a gun. For our adults, Councilor Tate and I just announced a Reentry Alliance program yesterday for men and women who are returning home from incarceration in the state. And that program is not only designed to provide housing, but the additional wraparound piece of identification, workforce development, workforce training, and job placement. Mental health and so many other issues to make sure returning adults can be gainfully employed and be productive citizens in our city. In addition to that, if you go to the city's website and look under economic development, they are promoting different forms of work opportunity all the time, and I'm not just talking about the city of Birmingham. So I want the adults in this room to know, if you have family members, if you have friends, church members, people in your neighborhood who are looking to be gainfully employed, there is so many opportunities out here. If they need help or you need help, call our office so we can give you guidance and direction.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I've got another one. I'm kind of putting these together. Druid Hills. Both of these are coming from Druid Hills. So I'll kind of give you the list here. Requesting and removing dangerous trees in the neighborhood of Druid Hills, cut trees and grass on city homes and lots related to the land bank. And then the other one is asking for street sweepers and cutting lots and picking up furniture that's left on streets.
All right, so what do we have? Street sweepers?
We got it all. Street sweepers, picking up furniture, dangerous trees, and grass on lots that are city owned, and then parks as well.
All right, here's what I'm going to need, because I'm not going to retain all of that. Once I do one, just drop another one. Help me out. Tag team. Oh, thank you. I'll start with the trees. I got a call from a resident in Bush Hills Monday. She wanted me to come visit her home Tuesday, and on the side of her home is an alley, so it's a city right away. And then on the other side of this alley is an empty lot. And there are like 3 or 4 trees, and in particular, one of the trees is growing up on the private empty lot coming over into the alley and things on the tree are dropping into her back deck. She likes to sit on her deck. It's springtime. She doesn't feel safe. She's afraid things will hit her head or her company's head. So I went out there and I was very honest with her. I was like, look, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. Why don't I call somebody from the Department of Public Works to come out here and see what they can do with this tree? And they reported back to her and they reported back to me that because that's private property, the city can't remove that tree. Right? I know in District 9, there are a lot of empty lots, but you should also know that the majority of those empty lots are private property. And so if you see the empty lot, remember that it took years to remove the blighted structure. And all the city was able to do was, with your tax dollars, remove the private property and only put a lien on it, but it's still private property. So if you have a tree that you feel is a public safety threat or a hazard to you, I'll give you the good. If it's city property, we will address it, we will cut it down, or we will remove some of the limbs. If it's private, that process gets very difficult or close to impossible. Now, he says no cameras in here, no media. I told that resident if,
Let me just say there's always cameras in here, just not media.
Yeah, it's smart. I'll say it anyway, because I told her, if she or somebody wanted to go on that private lot and remove that tree, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not advising y'all of that. But you heard what I just said out loud. So on the trees, we have a forestry department. So let me make this short. If you have a tree issue, please call our forestry department. What is that number, Yates? Just need the number.
Just call through 311.
Call 311. All right? About the trees. What was the next one? Overgrown lots?
Yes, sir. Overgrown lots.
So here's the thing about overgrown lots.
Do you have her contact?
Unfortunately, the state law doesn't allow a city to just go on a private lot and cut it because it's overgrown. Now, you saw a slide earlier, if you go back. Keep going. This one right here. Almost 1,000. Just in District 9 alone, we cut almost 1,000 vacant lots. Well, I wish we could clap. Here's the problem. The grass grows back a week later. I want you to know we can't get back a week later. And you all deserve honesty. I'm not going to BS you or make up stuff. The city of Birmingham is not designed for us to be in the grass cutting business of private lots. And nobody really talks to y'all like that, but what we try to do is hold that private owner accountable. And between absentee landlords and how the state law is given, absentee landlords and slum landlords have as much as rights as you, the person who takes care of your property. And so we have a process, but you should know it takes 6 to 8 weeks just to be giving the legal authority to cut a private lot. 6 to 8. So we cut it one time, the process starts all the way over. If I go on an empty lot and I cut it one time, the process starts all the way over to cut it again. And I told you it takes 6 to 8 weeks just to get permission to cut it. So we're trying to get creative with state law in Montgomery as it relates to enforcing liens and enforcing foreclosures for people who do not do their part taking care of their property. We're hoping before this legislative session ends that out of the Senate and the House side, we're able to have more teeth to force absentee and slum landlords to be held more accountable for not taking care of their property. But the unfortunate part right now, the way the state law is written, they have as much rights as you do, even though they don't take care of their property. What else on that list? That was a lot. What else?
Got most of that list. I'm going to keep on with some of the others, if that's okay with you, Mayor. Fountain Heights. This was the one I was trying to look at earlier, and I think you may have touched on it, but I'll go and just throw that out there because this next one up is, how about putting entities together that will help kids starting with electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and air conditioning in the schools, and also teach financial literacy.
So I'll start with the financial literacy first because it's the easiest one. For the last few years, the city of Birmingham has committed $1 million a year to a robust financial literacy program that not only invests in supports for 9th through 12th, but there's also a different curriculum for 6th through 8th middle school, which is separate from a curriculum for K through 5th. Look, I have every desire, as you do, to put predatory cash checking places out of business who prey on poor black people in our neighborhoods.
That you was raising up when he was talking about the doorbell, and also about the.
And I'm not sure, if I'm being totally transparent with you, that I can change adult behavior, i.e. my parents and grandparents' behavior. But I do believe financial literacy for the next and youngest generation, teaching things such as budgets and savings and credit, and how to invest and how to save and how to manage their money. I think that changes behavior. So those programs are active right now. They exist. They're embedded in our schools. They're through partnership, and they're working, and they're results. It's only been in existence 2 years, but there are ample results to say this program at every level, K through 5th, 6th through 8th, and 9th through 12th, with financial literacy is working for our children. I think the other topic, the first part of that question was, what was it, Rick?
Turn my mic on. Forgive me. Basically, trade education.
So here's the deal as well. Those programs already exist. The City of Birmingham school system has something called CTE, Career Technical Education. In addition to that, I spoke with the two-year chancellor of the statewide two-year community college system in Montgomery for about an hour and a half about 4 weeks ago. And in his office, we talked about a pilot program in Birmingham. How do we find better alignment for young people who have no interest in going to a four-year institution, i.e. Alabama or UAB, a state or A&M? However, how do we empower them in high school to be able to not only do their classwork, but be exposed at an early age to trades and career technical education? That program already exists. I think what we got to do is do better communication of sharing with our young people and students, this opportunity exists for you if you have no desire to go to the military or to college or university. But those programs are tight, they're robust. We have one of the best programs in the state. We just need more young people to participate in it. So, Franklin, I think we just need to get the superintendent to help us promote that more.
Okay, this is one. I'm throwing one at you, Mayor. This question, I know it's been out there, but this is coming from Smithfield. How can we help you get Alabama A&M at the BSC location?
See, that one got a lot of laughs. Look, I see A&M put a statement out there saying they want to buy the college. What I can tell you is that other colleges want to buy it too. They're just not public with it. That's a process that I would say the current president of Birmingham Southern and his board of trustees control. not the city of Birmingham. I will give you my beliefs. My belief is that that campus, those grounds are tailor-made, designed for higher education, and I would like to see it remain a place, an institution for higher learning. And I will say that there are 13 other HBCUs in our state that are also looking at this institution. They're just not as public as the other one. So, may the best man win.
Thank you, Mayor. Next question. From East Thomas neighborhood, can the city address the abandoned properties on Arkadelphia exit 231 to Findlay Avenue? It's an eyesore on a major interstate and highway. We know it's private, but the owners need to be held accountable.
Yes. Whoever had that question, if you have actual addresses, please give them to one of those ladies. Please give them to one of those ladies before you leave.
We've got your number. We've got your phone number. So what we can do is we'll follow up with you if we don't get it tonight. Oh, she's over there.
So I do want to say this. I'm going to pull up something right quick. I want to tell you what Public Works has been doing in District 9. And I apologize. I got too many emails. So I want to tell you, District 9 neighborhoods, everybody. In the past month, Public Works has been very intentional about engaging and cleaning up District 9. They spent 2 days in a Sitco Findlay in the last 30 days. They spent 2 days in Central Pratt, 4 days in Dolomite, 8 days in East Thomas, 1 day in Indian Ridge, 11 days in Inslee, 1 day in Hooper City, 5 in North Birmingham, 5 in North Pratt, 1 in Oak Ridge, 3 in Sandusky, 1 in Sherman Heights, 4 in Smithfield Estates, 2 in South Pratt, and 3 in Wylam. And we come to Tuxedo and Tuxedo Heights soon. Keep going.
Yes, sir. I'm going to merge a couple of others again because they're very similar questions. From Pratt City and Fountain Heights, they both ask, what do we do? We call about overgrown lots and right-of-ways to 311. We don't get a response.
I apologize for that. I'm not going to give you an excuse. Whoever gave that question, I want the address before the day is over of those intersections. Before the month of May is out, we'll cut those city right away. What's next?
And let me let you know, I'm just going to, LaToya and Sybil are over here. We've got the contact information for the Fountain Heights question. The Pratt City person, if you can get with either Sybil or LaToya, they'll check with you before the end of the night as well. I think they're waving at you, so there you go. Okay, our next question. This kind of goes back to a similar topic from earlier, but it's an individual question from Central City. There is a homeless person living on First Avenue and Caraway Boulevard under the overpath on a regular basis. It's at the light. And let's see, is there anything that can be done to have him move to another location?
Yeah, so that young man is at the intersection of Fifth Avenue right before people can do the on-ramp of 2059 to go east or west. I know he has been there at least close to 20 years. Same guy. And he used to be under the pillars. Now he's made his way to the median right at the light. And the truth is, every time I see one of those situations, I've stopped. I know who he is. He doesn't really like to be bothered. He doesn't bother anybody. But I see he started collecting things lately. And it's not just him, it's all his stuff that he has around. But the truth is, where he is technically state property. So it gets really hard to just move people off state property, and it requires the state to engage. So if you've noticed, not just at that intersection, but many areas across the state, many areas across the city, some of our homeless neighbors take refuge under state interstates or state highways. And it takes the state to actually engage and remove them. Now, if the state asks for our assistance, we assist. But because it's state property, the city is not allowed to just remove a person. So again, that's probably something people didn't know, but that also requires state help and logistics. And we call a guy, his name is DeJarvis Leonard. He's over the Eastern Division of the Alabama Department of Transportation. That includes Birmingham area. This is a conversation we have a lot, where the complaints reach a crescendo of homeless people being under a certain area of a state interstate. Highway 31, 20, 65, 59, Highway 31, and other areas. And we have to call the state. But this is the same state that y'all are mad at because the lights don't work on the interstate. And this is the same state that doesn't cut their grass on their exit ramps. And this is the same state that doesn't move, is not responsive enough or move fast enough when it comes to our homeless neighbors sleeping on their property. What I'll do is take that complaint in detail and give it to the state. But the state has not removed that man, that same man, because I know we all talking about the same person. I swear to you, he's been there over 15 years.
Oh, you're waiting for me. I'm sorry, Mayor. This one's coming from Fountain Heights. This is a concern about a lack of police patrol during menacing and shooting periods. Can we fix it? And what is being done about public indecency in our neighborhood?
This is an important topic. It's probably one of the most important topics that we can have, and it's one that I can spend some time with you. We have officers who are on patrol in all 4 precincts and in all beats. What happens is you call 911. You call 911, you call 911, all of you all call 911. And you say, why hasn't the police responded? Or you say why the police hasn't responded. You say, what's taking so long for the police to respond? What's taking the police so long to respond is that they responded to you first. So what's happening is calls for services are increasing in our city, but it doesn't necessarily match the crime stats on the ground. However, police respond, except it takes them a while because you want them to patrol and give you more visibility, but that decreases when the officer actually responding to a call, if that makes any sense. And so our beat officers have had an increase in calls for services. And with their increase in calls for services, it decreases their opportunity just to drive around and stop and have a conversation with you. Or if they see a group of guys out playing basketball, to stop and just mingle with them and build trust, because they're always on a call. It wasn't always that way. The increase in calls don't necessarily mean it's an increase in crime. It just means the way people use 911 is different and has increased. But they have to respond to the call. And in responding to the call, that gives them less opportunities to patrol. I'm not sure if anybody's ever explained it to you that way, but that's what happens a lot of time when you say, why don't I see a police officer? There's an officer on your beat, but there's a likely chance that majority of their time they're actually responding to a call. The call could be for anything, but they're actually responding to a call instead of just driving around. If there were less calls for services, the visibility would be higher because they would just be driving around interacting with you. But they can spend literally anywhere from 12 to 30 minutes on an actual call.
Yes, sir. Before I ask the next question, I just want to throw out time check. It's about 7:22 right now.
Oh, keep going. These folks still here.
Yes, sir. Another one from Fountain Heights. How long should property owners be allowed to have trash on their front lawns without cans and dumpsters? It's been months since trash has been allowed to be out like that.
So here's the deal. Everybody should be on the uniform cart system now. We all should have a trash bin. One was given to you, and if you needed a second one, you needed to buy it. And the reason why you have to put it in the trash bin, everybody, is because the lift picks up the bin. So if you put a bag on the side of it, if you put a bag on top of your trash bin, or a bag in front, or a bag behind it, it won't get picked up. So if you are in need of a second trash bin, there's a process. You can go to that slide. Keep going. Go back. Additional cart services can be applied for at birminghamal.gov/pickup. Or you can go over to the DPW South Administrative Building and purchase one, and it'll be delivered to your home.
And yes, Mr. Mayor, this is an apartment. We just got told that this is an apartment where they're having, yeah.
Well, we just got to go be more aggressive with them because they're not going to comply. They're stupid.
So Mr. Mayor, if you want to, if you'll get with Latoya or Sybil afterwards, they'll get the address and they'll pass this along to code.
Yeah. So we acknowledge that Fountain Heights, I'm just using you as an example, is a very unique neighborhood and spot zoning from the 1970s. Whereas a single-family neighborhood, but multifamily housing was able to just be put in the middle everywhere. And they are under the same compliance. Is it 4 or more units? Has to be private. So they're not complying, which means we just need to hold them accountable. So if you have an address, they'll get a letter from us, and then we'll just escalate it from there. Yeah, we'll get us the address, and Mr. Yates is right here. Give us the address so we can hold them accountable.
A couple of questions on this. This one I've got a location of a lot on 18th Street North that they say is a land bank property. They say they've been paying someone to cut it over the years. Another person says, what do we do to address land bank lots that need to be cut?
It's my first time passing the mic because I don't know the answer. It's Caroline Douglas who leads our land bank, everybody.
Good evening, everybody. The question was, there is a land bank lot that is overgrown and someone's been paying to maintain it?
Yeah, and a couple of folks said that what can they do to get land bank properties near them cut?
Yes. Well, currently, we are working on a bid to bid out that work so that we can get contractors on board to cut our lots. But until then, the city of Birmingham has been a great partner to us, and they voluntarily help us cut the lots that we own. Just this morning, Josh and I were talking about a lot that was overgrown as well. So if you have a lot that the land bank owns, or we are assessed for that lot for taxes, give us a call. We're at 254-2117. 254-2117. Give us the address of that lot, and then we can report that over to get it cut.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. So our next question, Mr. Mayor, comes from Evergreen Bottom. They touched on an issue that we've had already dealing with cutting grass, but they introduced a couple of other issues of trash being dumped and squatters and old houses that need to be torn, creating a situation where neighbors are disturbing neighbors in their neighborhood.
All right, I'm going to go with the squatters first. Councilor Tate sent me an issue about a squatter in the Evergreen Bottoms about 2 weeks ago. No, Birmingham. And then Ms. Brown sent me a text about squatters who got rights. Are y'all aware that an empty house, that if a person who doesn't own it or rent it goes in there, that I can't just kick them out? Are you aware of that? We don't have the right to kick a squatter out. Apparently they got rights. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? When I first got in office, I remember there was a squatter in a house in 2018. We made a big stinking fuss about it because they weren't just squatting in the house. They were hoarders, including the exterior of the house. So it was just junk everywhere. Front yard, backyard. I mean, you couldn't even walk in the grass. And we did not have the right to just kick them out. We had to walk down the absentee landowner. And that was hard to find, to get permission for them to say this person doesn't belong, for our police to evict a person that had no business being there in the first place. So for squatters, again, we need the addresses. And even in a situation where I talked to Ms. Councilor Tate a few weeks ago, we found out the house had squatters in it. They got dogs and everything. We need help finding an actual owner, which is very hard to find sometimes on these absentee landlords. But if we can track the absentee landlord down to get permission to say this person doesn't belong and trespass them, then we have the legal right to boot the person. It's crazy, ain't it? Yeah, that still baffles me. You want to say something?
It's a state law that just passed. I don't have my phone, but it's House Bill. I don't know if it's made. Katrina, are you aware of this new law? 182, State Bill 182. I don't know if it's made it out the Senate yet, but it's passed the House.
What's the bill say?
Squatters law. Yeah. What are you familiar with it, Katrina? Let the expert.
Everybody, this is Katrina Thomas over PEP that can give more information on the squatters law.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Katrina Thomas. I have the pleasure of serving as the Director of the Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits. And Councilor Tate is correct. This was Senate Bill 182. It passed last week. I think we are waiting for the governor's signature. It basically identifies squatting as illegal. And so it will allow property owners an opportunity to have an affidavit recorded, and so that the Birmingham Police Department will be able to enforce that affidavit and be able to evacuate the property if a squatter is in it. So we had a meeting today, our coordinated code enforcement meeting today, where we are walking through what that looks like operationally, but it has moved ahead in the Senate and has passed, and so that should give us much more teeth in enforcing squatters on properties, especially the vacant and abandoned properties.
Boom. Thank you.
Mayor, we've got a couple more questions, just to let you know. We've gone through all the questions so far. From Inslee, is the city aware of the community revitalization work being done by Renew Birmingham in the Inslee area, and is the city willing to work with some of their efforts?
Yes and yes. Easy answer.
We've got your contact information. We can share it, and we can follow up on those conversations. And the last question for the night, East Thomas neighborhood. This is following up to the reentry alliance. What additional resources is the reentry program providing that the state DOC does not have?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What resources is the reentry alliance providing that the state does not have, that the state DOC does not have?
The Reentry Alliance has multiple partners. It has multiple partners. Housing. It went live on last night. So is Elena here? Elena can help us out. So you got housing, you got Canterbury that's going to be meeting them at the gate when they get out. They're going to be providing people with birth certificates, license, ID, a whole array of things. So reentry looks like every need that you need when you are released from prison, such as housing, workforce development, has Salvation Army, there for workforce development. I'm gonna let Elena speak to that because this is their project. I just was in the mayor's ear supporting it.
Thank you, Councilor Tate. So the Reentry Alliance will provide housing, living wage jobs, mental health resources, as well as case management for an entire year. So any other additional information that you, NIDs, any other additional information can be found on our website, which is www.bhmreentry, 2 E's, no hyphen, .org.
Thank you. So I want to do two things, Rick,
Yes.
since that's the last question. I want to give you all some updates that it's not on here. There's been some major projects that have been delayed in District 9. One has been the whole Caraway site. The other has been the Inslee McCormick building. The other has been Inslee High School. So I want to talk about them. The Caraway site, with the exception of MacArthur School, is now owned by a private developer. The city of Birmingham has committed probably about, I don't know, at this point, about $10 million to that project. But the project is so massive and construction costs has increased so crazy and interest rates is out of control so crazy that in order to complete this project, some more financing has to be put in place to be able to reimagine the Caraway site for housing, which includes affordable and market, multifamily, and townhomes. But in addition to that, economic development, which includes grocery, shopping in all other forms, as well as an amphitheater on the back end of it. This year, right now, you should already see the dirt moving for the amphitheater. We believe those other things will continue to come online, but they're going to take a while because of financing. Not necessarily dictated by the city, but dictated by the private sector in the market for something that we don't control. The same thing happened at Inslee High School, where we're committed to putting in resources to revitalize Inslee High School. But at the exact same time, the private developer has to finish their financial stack to complete that project, which we don't know when. And then I want to talk about the McCormick building. Is anybody aware of the McCormick building downtown Inslee? That building's been removed. That building is also in litigation. And in between, the city of Birmingham has a commitment right now of about $4+ million to support going vertical with another building there. But that building is also being managed by a private developer who has to finish his financial stack as well in the lieu of increased construction costs as well as interest rates. So when all those things are fixed, you should be in a position to see changes at Inslee High School, the McCormick building, as well as Caraway Hospital. You deserve that information. I mean, it wasn't up here, but I wanted to provide it to you. Now, LaTonya Tate is here. She's going to stay for a while. I have the Deputy Chief of Patrol here. Cap, you north or west? I have the Captain of West Precinct here. I have the Chief of Police here. I have the Deputy Director of Transportation here. I got the Legal Department here. I got Capital Projects here. Planning and Engineering and Permits here, as well as the Fire Department here, leadership, as well as Community Development, Economic Development, and other team members. If you have a question, concern, issue, thought, idea, and it wasn't on the card, when we conclude this meeting, they're still here, willing and ready to have a conversation with you. Y'all cool with that? I want to thank you for your time, for being present. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for being here. Grateful for you, and I hope you all have a good night.